the heirloom that broke a smuggling empire. When I left New York for Chiang Mai, it wasn't some whimsical escape or midlife meltdown. It was for family, plain and simple. My grandmother, my 86 and fading like a photograph left in the sun, had raised me on summers filled with lemongrass tea and tales of ancient Thai warriors. Now, her memory was slipping, and after years of grinding as a corporate lawyer, I craved a slower life. Chiang Mai, with its temple bells and humid chaos, called me home. I rented a villa in Serenity Gardens, a gated expat enclave promising local charm with Western comforts, a red flag I should have noticed. I arrived in April, the air thick with smoke from burning rice fields, with my dog Milo, 2 suitcases, and the most precious thing I owned, my great-great-grandmother's rosewood armoire. Crafted in 1820 by a Burmese artisan escaping war, it had survived a Nazi bombing that flattened half our family's estate in Sussex. That armoire, smelling of cedar and thyme, had guarded wedding gowns, love letters, and secrets through generations of women in my family. It was my anchor, my history. The movers, 2 gentle college kids from Bangkok, carried it like a sacred relic, settling it in my living room by a bay window where morning light made the wood glow like liquid amber. That choice, to let it be seen from the community road, sparked a battle I never saw coming. It began with a note slipped under my door, written in prim cursive on lilac paper. Dear resident, while we admire your taste in antiques, large non-standard furniture visible from public areas disrupts our community's aesthetic harmony. Regards, Eleanor Voss, HOA president. I laughed, thinking it was a joke, maybe some Reddit prank. I didn't yet know Eleanor. Her fake interior design certificate from a weekend seminar in Phuket, her obsession with symmetrical elegance, or her history of finding residents for things like prayer flags that clashed with her tropical modern vision. I wrote back politely, explaining the armoire was a family heirloom and staying put. A week later, another note arrived, citing a bizarre HOA rule about visible interior decor exceeding 4 by 6 feet in primary windows. I ignored it, but Eleanor didn't stop. One morning, I caught 2 HOA volunteers, a grumpy Canadian retiree and a nervous Brit, measuring my armoire through the window with a tape measure. Coffee in hand, I demanded to know what they were doing. The Canadian mumbled about an aesthetic audit. Furious, I told them to leave. My heart raced. I knew HOAs couldn't override private property law, especially in Thailand, where Serenity Gardens leased land from the Crown Property Bureau, and most homes were held in complex trusts since foreigners can't own land outright. As a lawyer who'd handled billion-dollar real estate deals, I could have shredded Eleanor's bylaws in my sleep. But I wanted peace, mango smoothies, temple visits, and afternoons with my spinning stories about when your grandfather was a charming scoundrel. So, I waited, hoping she'd back off. She didn't. A letter on HOA letterhead arrived, fining me 10,000 baht, about $280, and ordering the armoire moved or removed. I fired back a legal letter, citing Thai civil code and the unenforceable nature of her rules, and dropped it in the HOA's flimsy clubhouse mailbox. Silence followed for a week. Then, one afternoon, I returned from a market run to find my front door ajar. Milo barked wildly as I rushed inside. Nothing was touched, except the armoire. It was gone. Taped to the wall was an envelope, relocated for compliance. Stored safely. Do not escalate. Community first action. EV. My stomach churned. I felt violated and raged. I called the police, who filed a report, but called it a civil dispute, unless I could prove theft. I scoured the neighborhood WhatsApp group, learning Eleanor had a pattern. She'd confiscated a hammock, ripped out unapproved flower beds, and bullied residents for years. I went nuclear. I called a lawyer friend in Bangkok, Clara, and filed a civil suit demanding Eleanor produce the armoire within 7 days or face criminal charges for trespass and theft. I spotted it through Eleanor's patio window, propped crookedly on a cinder block, half covered with a tarp like discarded junk. The sight broke me. I snapped photos, sent them to Clara, and prepared for war. But Eleanor struck back harder. She accused me of smuggling, claiming the armoire, was a Thai antiquity illegally imported without a cultural license. Within hours, an inspector was at my door demanding provenance documents. I nearly fainted when they questioned her. I dug up century-old photos, 1,946 customs papers, and family wills to prove the armoire wasn't looted. The emotional toll was crushing. I brought this piece of my soul across the world to protect it, and now it was a weapon against me. Sleepless, I stared at my ceiling fan, thinking of the women who'd touched that wood, my mother, her mother, all the way back. Eleanor's smug notes and clipboard tyranny fueled my rage. She thought she could bury me in bureaucracy, but I was bureaucracy. I hired a private investigator, Samsak, a quiet man with a monk's calm and a bloodhound's instincts. Within days, he uncovered a bombshell. Eleanor ran a cultural preservation nonprofit in Munich, restoring Southeast Asian antiques for European auctions. My armoire was listed in their catalog as Burmese rosewood cabinet, 19th century, unrestored, valued at $12,500. My blood boiled. It was like seeing my family's bones prized for sale. Clara and I went to Interpol. We filed an injunction with the Chiang Mai court to block Eleanor from moving the armoire and requested a criminal probe into her export schemes. I leaked the story to the press. Photos of the armoire in her patio, screenshots of her emails mocking Thai laws, and her nonprofit's shady listings. Headlines exploded. HOA president accused of smuggling Thai heirlooms. Eleanor went quiet, but 4 days later, she showed up at my door, lips tight, sunglasses hiding her eyes. "I'd like to settle privately," she said in a clipped Austrian accent. "You've caused damage." I nearly laughed. "You stole my heirloom and tried to ruin my life?" I shot back. "Return it, confess, resign from the HOA, and maybe I'll consider it." She called me vindictive and stormed off. The HOA unraveled. Residents uncovered a spreadsheet of Eleanor's past confiscations, statues, ironwork, even a teak elephant statue, all unapproved and mysteriously gone. At an emergency meeting, I presented my evidence: emails, export forms, and photos. The room was stunned. A Sri Lankan neighbor, Anika, revealed Eleanor had destroyed her garden for cultural inconsistency while selling its relics. The vote was unanimous. Eleanor was ousted. Then came the kicker. Samsak found her nonprofit was funded by HOA maintenance fees, money we'd paid for landscaping. It wasn't just theft, it was fraud, implicating the treasurer, an Aussie named Greg, who'd conveniently fled to Bali. The court ordered Eleanor to return the armoire, pay my legal fees, and stay in Thailand pending investigation. When movers brought it back, scratched but whole, I sobbed. My frail but radiant stood beside me, whispering blessings. A local carpenter restored it, saying, "This wood has a soul. It remembers." I moved it away from the window. It didn't need to prove itself anymore. Eleanor, meanwhile, vanished, fleeing to Laos before dawn. I was furious, but not surprised. Clara and I escalated her case to Interpol, tracking her fake invoices and shipments. They found her in Sarajevo, hiding at her cousin's vineyard under her maiden name. Extradition began, slow but certain. I turned inward, inviting neighbors to see the armoire in a small exhibit with family photos and letters. Over 40 people came, including who glowed like royalty. Anika brought samosas. Even a grumpy retiree shared a story of his own lost heirloom. The night felt like healing. Weeks later, the Cultural Heritage Board thanked me, issuing new expat property protections because of my case. The HOA elected a new president, a kind Korean architect who asked me to advise on bylaws. I agreed, but only if they built a memorial bench under a banyan tree, engraved, to treasures that outlast tyranny. A Berlin museum contacted me, asking for an article on displaced heritage. I wrote the armoire that wouldn't fade, about my family's resilience and the greed that nearly stole it. It went viral, with readers from Seoul to Seattle sharing their own stories of loss. 6 months later, Eleanor was extradited. At her hearing, she looked defeated, pleading guilty to theft, fraud, and falsifying documents. She got 5 years suspended, a 2 million baht fine, community service, and a ban from leadership roles. As I left the courthouse, Chiang Mai bloomed with golden flowers. Mai had passed peacefully weeks before, her last words to me. You guarded us, Clara. I wore her ring, found in the armoire's secret drawer, and felt her strength. That night, I lit incense by the armoire, played Mai's favorite lullaby, and smiled. The wood stood tall, unbroken by war, theft, or Eleanor Voss. So did I. What do you think about Clara's fight against Eleanor's tyranny? Have you ever faced injustice or bullying in your own community? Share your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk about standing up to abuse and what justice really means. Your voice matters.